Hello, and good morning, everybody. I'm so moved to see you here despite the early Thursday morning. As Stefan already introduced, I'm going to talk about my 6 months experience of working remotely from Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. It happened between last year and this year. So why I'm talking about this? For the last 11, 12 years, I've been living, studying, working between several countries in Europe and in Africa. I put a star here on the areas I've been in the continent, and those pictures are the pictures that was taken my first time in each of these areas, so they're not very recent. And my first time was in Senegal while I was drinking the coconut. That was the first time also I left Europe, and it was in Senegal. So before we start, I just want to clarify that the East African community is composed by 6 countries, the one you see here. Today I'm going to talk about Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda because in those countries I have experience of working remotely. So everything else might not be very pertinent today. And at the end, so in the presentation, I try to tell you a little bit more about what you will see, but I'm not going into details about places or other specific information because I prepared a PDF at the end with the summary of what I'm saying and with even some more detail. So I would just like to know if anybody of you been in one of those countries? Okay. Nice. So I have a mixed crowd. I also have to say, I was not very sure what to talk about today precisely, because some stuff for me are very normal, let's say, because I've been in Africa in 2013 the first time, but I understand, and especially among digital nomads, I get so many questions about how it is to go to Africa, and I know people that got terrible diseases in China or Mexico, for example, they're scared to travel to Uganda because of malaria. So I tried to answer to all the questions I got in the last year. And I think I'll start with Uganda. Uganda, I don't know if it is allowed to say, but it's my probably favorite country ever. I lived there before COVID, and I could not wait to finish a job contract to go back to Uganda, and I did it last year. And there's no specific reason why I like it so much. I think it's just the vibe I get there, and then the people and the culture and everything. And I really like Kampala, the capital, despite it's an extremely crowded and chaotic city. But you get really, there is a huge cultural scene, there is nightlife if you are into that, and a lot of people you can meet. But also in Uganda, you are also able, if you need peace, to find very peaceful town, also on the shores of the lake, so it's very, very nice. And for weekends, you can travel around the country. The nature is amazing. You can do, of course, safari, and in Uganda, maybe you know, you can see the gorilla in the natural habitat. It's a very nice experience, very expensive, not cheap, but very, very nice. And what language they speak there? Official languages are English and Swahili, but nobody speaks Swahili in Uganda. So they speak different other languages according to the region of the country. So if you just go for short term and if you don't want to commit to a specific part of the country, you'll be fine with English. And people speak English, most of them. Kenya. I don't know where to start to talk about Kenya because there's really everything you can imagine. You can see vibrant city life in cities like Nairobi or even other smaller towns. You have the coast. You have Mombasa, which is a city, but with the Swahili touch. And of course, you have the beaches, the seaside, all the activities you can do there. And the sea is very, very nice over there. You have some of the most famous safari in the world, and also smaller parks if you like less crowded places. You can visit rural areas, villages, and of course experiences culture of the Maasai people, which they are very popular, I will say. In Kenya, with English, you are very, very fine. People speak Swahili mostly, but the English is very widespread and studied at school. So you will also be able to dive in Kenya with English, and you'll be able to merge and interact with local very easily. Rwanda, which is also called the land of 1,000 hills, it's a very small country, like very, very small, made of hills, only hills. And it's very surprising. I knew it before going, but still I got surprised. Because the capital, Kigali, it's very clean. It's like very, very clean. It's tidy, it's also quite pretty, and it's very safe to be in Africa. And so it's also called the Switzerland of Africa, Rwanda, for this exact reason. And also in Rwanda, you also have nature, you also have gorillas, and you also have lakes. So you can also enjoy your weekend there. But now, where you might end up working if you travel to those countries, because you are digital nomads or wanna be digital nomads, so you're not going there for holidays. The first picture, okay, I have to say before, probably you will not end up in that situation, despite stereotypes about Africa. But here, I took all these pictures, so they're real life, they don't come from Unsplash. And the first one, we have Giacomo, which is here in the crowd, that was working together with chickens. But in that specific occasion, we traveled to a rural area in Kenya. Internet was great, despite we were in rural areas, but we didn't have electricity, water, toilet, nothing. So we had to charge our laptop in a community center, 15 minutes walking from where we were sleeping. But that was something we really looked for it. It's very hard to get into a situation if you don't look for them. Most probably, you will end up working in cafe. There are a lot of cafe everywhere, especially in big cities. And they're also very fancy. They are laptop friendly. Even locals go there to work. You have easily plugs everywhere and Wi-Fi, despite it doesn't work all the time. I'll talk about internet in a minute. And yeah, you can really stay there hours and nobody cares. And as you see from the picture, you can get very fancy menus like the one you get in Chiang Mai, very digital nomad friendly with smoothies and cheesecake and whatever. A suggestion, if you book a guest house or a hotel, maybe if it is important to have power all the time, you should verify if they have a generator in case of power cut. And if they have a generator, if they turn it on every time there's a power cut or only in some hours. Because you see here, I ended up working, that was not very late, it was maybe 8 p.m. I ended up working completely in the dark in such a creepy situation, I would say. So just be aware that these things can happen. Most of the time I was working in flat. So if you rent a flat, it's very safe to work from there. And again, if it is important for you to work on a desk or a dining table, you have to verify this. Because very often, there's no dining table in apartments, so you end up working in the couch, and it's not the best also for your back. But it happened twice that I specifically asked for a dining table, and they bought it for me. But you have to ask in advance. And well, you also can find different other kinds of cafe, more local. What about food? Food, I would say the variety is not huge, but the food is very nutritious, and there's difference among the three countries, so it's hard to generalize, but generally the local plate is composed by a part of carbs, which can be rice, mashed potatoes, mashed bananas, or other cereals or roots, and the sauce, peas, beans, meat, fish, chicken. And it's not difficult to eat for vegetarian as well. I'm not vegetarian, but I try to eat less meat, so it was quite easy also. You have a great choice of international restaurants in capital. And if you fancy Indian food, that's the right part of the world. There's a lot of Indians in East Africa. So consequently, you have several Indian restaurants, which are very good because they're tailored for Indian people. If you like fish, go to Kenya in the coast. There's really amazing. And of course, you have markets where you can buy a lot of fruits. And while you travel, if you forget to bring with you a packed lunch or something, that's not a problem because from the bus windows at every stop, you'll get people selling food from the window, like you see here, the chicken skewer. Choice is less, but you're gonna be covered. And transport. There's a lot of different ways of moving inside those countries. If you stay for short term or if you're doing safari or a short tourist trip, you will probably need to hire a car with a driver because there's no public transport in some areas, and also inside the national park you need a car. But otherwise, if you stay longer, you will need to use other way of moving. There is a train in Kenya. It goes from Nairobi to Mombasa. It's actually very nice and quite comfortable. Also, you can hire a private car. You can use a taxi. It is advised to use an app like Uber or Bolt, especially, well, when they are available. In smaller cities, there are not. You can find tuk-tuk. You will probably take buses. They are very slow, but for long-term distances, you have no other option. And the big parking lot you see with all those minivans are called matatu, and they are not comfortable at all. They are very hot. They only leave when they are full, and yeah, it's not a comfortable trip. Sometimes they also make accident because they drive very quickly with those matatu, but well, sometimes you don't have other options as well, and it's a great way to experience what is real life and not just having a private car. And inside cities, you see the motorbike. They are moto taxi called boda boda in Uganda and Kenya, and that's the way you need to use if you're moving inside the city. They are very quicker than car because they don't get stuck in traffic. Is it safe? They drive. They don't drive in a safe way. Some of the drivers don't even have a driving license. But if you book them through some apps, like again, Uber, Bolt, or Safe Boda in Uganda, normally they should have a driving license, and they often have an helmet for you also. So, well, I always did it because there's really, again, otherwise you have 1 hour to do like 3 kilometers, you need to use a motor taxi. Visa and entry requirements, that's very easy. If you have a European or American passport, you easily get between 1 and 3 months tourist visa. You have to ask in advance for Uganda and Kenya and Rwanda. You can also get it at the border, at least until a few months ago. So that's very easy. And there's one visa which is amazing. It's called East Africa visa. The duration is 3 months. And you can stay in the block of those 3 countries, Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, for 3 months and move between them without losing the visa. If you exit the block, you lose it. But inside, you can stay for 3 months. The only real important requirements for Uganda, you need to have a yellow fever vaccination. Like, you don't enter in the country if you didn't get the yellow fever shot. Kenya and Rwanda, it depends where you've been before, if they want to see the shot. So now, as I mentioned, vaccination. Many people ask me about health and safety in Africa. Regarding health, the vaccination, as I already said, the only mandatory one is yellow fever, and also not in every situation if you only go to Kenya, for example. But I'm not a health practitioner, so I cannot give you health advice, but what I always do and what I always advise is to go to the tropical health center of the place where you live, and you have doctors specialized, and they also use the international book from the World Health Organization with all the recommended vaccinations, so they'll be able to advise you about vaccination and prophylaxis. Generally, what I can say, if you get sick, you can be treated. The farthest you are from the cities, the worse it is for potential urgent care, of course, but there are health centers, there are hospitals. you have to pay. It's not like, I don't know, in Italy, if you are dying, you get health care. No, there, if you don't pay, you get nothing. So use a travel insurance, but you can get treated. So, and well, if you have other questions about health, maybe you can ask me later. Regarding safety, is Africa safe? It depends where you go. My first advice would be to check in an official website from governments which are the areas in which you should not go. And if the areas are red, like don't go, or maybe you go but knowing that is not advised. Otherwise, it's, of course, you have to pay attention. It's not Bansko, but you maybe avoid to walk in the dark, to show valuable. I would also advise to book an accommodation with night security and check which are the neighborhoods. So the main point for me is to be informed. You have to take information. You cannot just buy flight tickets to Uganda and you don't know where to go. I mean, you can, but I think we can make those little research to be more safe. And so yeah, I think that that would be my main advice. And also, I don't know if you've seen the news now, there are protests in Nairobi. They are pretty intense and bad. Some people died, so you have to know this. So usually, I've been in Nairobi a few months ago, you know, but today is not a good moment to stay a few days in Nairobi, and there are some areas of the city in which you cannot walk in the street. So you just have to take information and travel informed. Said all this, I've been there many times, and I also traveled alone. And you see, I'm here, nothing bad ever happened to me. I was probably a little lucky, but I also pay attention. As Stefano said, I brought my dad to Africa for a month. We also crossed the border with night buses and everything, and he doesn't speak English, he's oldish, and I sent him back to Italy, safe and happy, so that's possible. And even Giacomo, you saw him in the picture, he's here taking pictures, so he's safe and happy. I'll just give you 2 tips before traveling. You need a VPN. Probably you already have it if you are an experienced traveler. Sometimes social media are blocked, and they can be blocked by the government with, I don't know, 1 minute notice. Don't even need a notice. So in Uganda, they had election in 2021, if I remember well, and in 2023, Facebook was still not possible to use with mobile data. So you see, you need a VPN. And the other things, if you're part of the LGBT plus community, you have to be aware that this area of the world is probably, well, is not the most tolerant, let's say. Rwanda, there's a little bit more tolerance, but in Uganda and Kenya, for example, same-sex acts are illegal, and you might also end up to jail in Uganda. So you have to be aware of this. Is it fair? No, but that's not the point. The point is that you have to be aware of laws in the countries where you're going, because you don't want to get into trouble, I think. I would like to end saying something which I think is quite important. We travel, most of us, we travel. We are very privileged that we are able to travel and to work remotely. And I think with this privilege, responsibility also comes. So, and especially when you travel to the south of the world or to countries that are considered more vulnerable or more poor or less developed. So, I understand it's very difficult to draw a line between what is right and what is wrong. And nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. I also make mistakes. But what I think we should do is to take information and try to impact the places where we go in a more positive way. And especially today, in 2024, we have no excuse to do harm while we travel. What I would say as a first things, take information of the countries where you are going, try to understand and research the culture, the customs, also to know the country and to avoid maybe doing something or saying things that could be offensive or inappropriate for the people there. And ask to locals what is appropriate to do and what is not appropriate. And also, regarding taking pictures, I know we are used to see images about Africa with people in very private situation or minors doing their stuff, or even old people that maybe didn't know you were taking a picture of them. Like, you have to ask permission to take a picture of someone, right? You will do the same in Bansko, so let's do the same in Uganda, in Kenya, and in Rwanda, and everywhere else. And also, when you post on social media about your trip, try always to understand how this image will be perceived by the people that they haven't been there. So again, try to avoid displaying private situation or a situation that might put people in danger or showing very cultural sensitive things. Okay, said that, I think we can end here. I hope I inspired you to go to East Africa for a trip or for a 3-month stay. And I hope it was useful. In here you can scan the QR code and you have my contacts. I think I forgot to put LinkedIn, but that's if you put my name on LinkedIn, I think might be the only one, so it should be easy enough. And thank you.